Hey, what's going on, guys? It's Nickens here, back with another video, and with the new Backyard Sports MLW collaboration. I got super duper excited. This is a game I used to play on the old, the big back TVs where you connected the video game to the TV itself and you had the controller. This thing was so fun. I played it on computers all the time, so I have backyard baseball, and backyard sports in general has a big place in my heart. So when I saw this, I was thinking, maybe this is a collaboration of the future, maybe, with the game coming out on Steam, both the 1999, and the '01 games, and the I think '97 coming out on Steam. I was wondering what would it look like for a new MLW game to be out, and specifically, what does it look like for player ratings? So that is what we're going to be doing today. So I tried to make this a little realistic. I can't obviously just put like straight nines for somebody. I wanted them to kind of have some like take in some drawbacks. So every single player has a rating of 10 based on 4 different skills. That's running, pitching, batting, fielding. And so I tried to keep it realistic between about 20 total points to 28 total points for each player, and giving that will then give them the skills that maybe you'll see in game, and kind of seeing, based off, historically slash who the player is, what would fit for their player rating in backyard sports. So let's go ahead and get into it. There's 11 players today. It's going to be super fun. First up, we got Kyle Schultz, the GOAT. I gave him a batting rating of 7, a running rating of 7, a pitching rating of 5, and a fielding rating of 8. What I was thinking about is like Kyle, yes, doesn't pitch recently, but all the kids in the game around 12, historically, Kyle's been a great pitcher. So I'm trying to I'm giving him some leeway. I would love to see, a two-seam riser from Kyle Schultz in a backyards baseball game. He's definitely an above average batter, and I think he's fairly fast. And obviously, I think his best skill is his fielding. He's made some incredible plays. So overall, I think this is a fine rating for him, giving him his overall score total around 27 points. So I felt like that was very fair for Kyle. All right, next up we got Jordan Robles. I gave him a batting rating of 9, a running rating of 5, a pitching rating of 10, and a fielding rating of 4. Now you may be thinking, like, Michael, like, its fielding is way too low and his running is way too low. Yes, he's not necessarily known for those two things, and again, I'm trying to make some gameplay balance decisions ahead of time. I don't think Jordan's necessarily bad at those things, but he would be absolutely broken as a character to come in with that high of stuff. So you'll see that me doing that with other players, but I think this is very fair. He's an amazing batter, an amazing pitcher, and the other things, running and fielding, you don't really know him for. And if you look back at Robles, I did something very similar with Crash. I basically made Crash a 10 out of 10 batter and a 9 out of 10 pitcher, whereas Robles is the opposite. He's a 10 out of 10 pitcher and a 9 out of 10 batting. I think either way it's interchangeable, but I couldn't give them both, like both 9s or both 10s, because otherwise that would have been boring. You don't want the exact same player, the exact same stats, and then I flipped their running and pitching, or their running and fielding, basically. So Crash is a slower than Robles, but he has some better fielding. It's here or there. You can maybe increase and decrease based off that. But again, I'm thinking about making a balanced game. I'm trying to think, how would you use these characters? You don't want them overpowered. All right, we got TC3. I love Tommy. I think he's a great guy. Obviously, recently he hasn't been as good. Maybe you can make an argument like, hey, this is like a younger TC3 would have been a lot better, and I can see that, so maybe the ratings will be different if there is a game. I gave him 4 for batting. I think he's a little bit below average, but he's been historically pretty good. His running's about a 6. His pitching, I put at a 4. He's got the gypsy drop. I've loved to see that in game, and he's got really good fielding. I think Tommy's a really solid fielder. Maybe I'm a little harsh on him. Maybe I'm not harsh enough. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. Maybe he could be better at pitching. I don't know. Again, the idea, this is like them as kids. I think this plays a big part of it. So maybe some ratings will change over if, this does happen. All right, next up we got Jimmy Norb. I gave him a 8 out of 10 for batting, a 6 out of 10 for running, a 6 out of 10 for pitching, and a 9 out of 10 for fielding. Maybe you could bump that up to a 10 out of 10 for fielding. I feel like his pitching has gone down this year, so maybe you feel like pitching's too high. But overall, I think this is a solid rating for Jimmy Norb. Maybe you could even bump up his pitching because, again, this is historical. I feel like these are very solid ratings because he is a very above average bat, can go long yard, and I think he's fairly fast. I mean, this is a guy who hit a triple inside park home run, so maybe even then I'm being a little short on his running. But again, trying to make a balanced game, trying to stay around 28 total points. All right, next up we got Alec Warda. I gave him a 7 for batting actually, and then I gave him running. I gave him 10 out of 10. Of course, this guy is one of the fastest guys in LMW. He is the 10 out of 10 running guy that I think about. Pitching, I gave a 3 out of 10 because it would still be fun to use him, but historically, he's not the best pitcher. And fielding, I gave a 5 out of 10. I think, Alec Ward is pretty average when it comes to fielding. I don't think he's the worst defender on the Preds. But overall, I think this is a solid rating, and you're using Alec very offensively when it comes to backyard baseball and for MLW. All right, Sawyer Bean. I gave him a 5 out of 10 for batting. He's been doing a lot better this season, so maybe you could bump that up. I think he's an above average runner. I think he's fairly fast. Pitching, I gave it 8 out of 10. I don't think he's on the level of Robles or Cratch, but he's got that super drop. Imagine that being into the game. I think it'd be fun to use that. And fielding, I gave him a 5. I don't think of Sawyer being as a bad fielder, but I don't remember. I can't think of any plays that Sawyer's made off the top of my head. So I gave him an average. Again, these are all interchangeable. You could probably bump one up or down based on how you feel. So yeah, let me know what you guys think about Sawyer. Next up, we got RJ Walgate. I kind of, with the Gators and Magic, I wish they had some more players. Like, I wish Jack Agner or Chris Cheatham was in there, or for the Mallards, Brendan Jorgensen. But I'm glad RJ got in there. I gave him a 4 for batting. He hasn't really batted much in MLW, so maybe 4 or 3 for batting. Running, I gave him a 6. He is tall and lanky. He plays basketball. I think he'd be fairly fast. Pitching, I gave him an 8 as well. I think he's a really good pitcher, especially this year. You could even argue he's up there with Robles and Cratch. And then fielding, I gave him a 6. I think he's a very solid fielder. He doesn't make a lot of mistakes, and when something comes to him, he's going to get there. He's tall, lanky. He does really good. So I think this is a very fair rating for RJ Walgate. All right, next up we got Drew Davis. I gave Drew a 8 out of 10 for batting. This guy has been a silver slugger. He has been really solid when it comes to MLW. Maybe this year is kind of an outlier for that, but I always think of Drew as a really solid batter. He's running. I gave him a 7 out of 10. I think he's going to be faster. He's not obviously the fastest guy in MLW, but with his pitching stat being low, I gave him maybe an extra point in running. And then fielding, I also gave him an 8 out of 10. This guy has made crazy plays, diving over fences. His hustle's up there. So maybe you could even bump up his fielding one more. But that's kind of where I have Drew. I think that's a very fair rating for him. All right, next up we got Dallas Allen. I gave him a 7 out of 10 for batting. I gave him a 4 out of 10 for running. I gave him an 8 out of 10 for pitching, and I gave him a 7 out of 10 for fielding. Dallas isn't really known as a fast runner. I don't think he's necessarily slow, but he's not known for his running, so that's why it's a 4 out of 10. Batting, he's very solid. Pitching, one of the better pitchers in the league for sure. 8 out of 10, I think, was very fair. And fielding, I gave him a 7 out of 10. I don't think I've seen a lot of errors out of him. He's made some pretty solid plays from my memory, so I gave him a very solid rating of 7 out of 10 for fielding. And last week we got Dan Schultz. Well, look what they did to my boy Dan, though. I think it's funny. Maybe they'll change his model. Maybe this will be his model, but that's so funny. I gave Dan a 9 out of 10 for batting, specifically because his contact, his ability to get on base. I think he deserves that high of a rating. Running, I gave him 6 out of 10. Fairly solid runner. Pitching, gave it 5 out of 10. I'd love to see a knuckle drop in the game for a superpower. So I think that would be super fun to see. I think that's why I'm giving it a 5 out of 10, because I want to see him use that. And then fielding, 7 out of 10. He's made some amazing plays over the year. I think he deserves it. So, yeah. Yeah, and that's pretty much it, guys. I think this is probably going to happen. If it does, this is going to be some kind of DLC to one of the older games. especially since it seems like they still have the IP and the original code for it. They could probably, I'm sure the MLW people will show up, depending on how much it takes to really make this kind of DLC. You could see the meadows as a part of one of the fields. Maybe they make it more of a 3-on-3. Maybe it could be a separate game mode. Maybe even there is extra options, extra players that they're adding in. Who knows? I think the 2021 version would be my best guess for which one they would do it for. It seems like it's most compatible with some newer code and stuff. But let me know what you guys think in the comments. Are you excited for maybe a new MLW game? And what kind of things would you want to see in this game? Do you want to see 3-on-3, maybe a strike zone, maybe a tin hitting the back of it? Maybe there's a wiffle ball model. I don't know. But let me know what you guys think. I'll see you guys next time. Peace.